All right, hello everyone, welcome back to Crypto Warehouse. My name is Brogan, and today we are back for another trading stream, chart stream, or whatever you want to call it. Looking good today, looking pretty positive. We've come above a certain area, and we're 84.8 right now. Pretty positive, 24 on the 1 hour. So all things good. I think we've done obviously I've been talking maybe last stream or two about where I thought the low was for Bitcoin, and I think we've kind of come to that, and my estimation has been correct, and I think we have come from that. So excited for this stream. We'll actually be able to look at some new stuff on the charts, hopefully across the board anyway. Ethereum's looking pretty low anyway, but we would expect that. So again, like I said, across the board, hopefully we have some new TA for this stream. Hopefully it'll be an interesting stream today. Let me bring the chat up quickly. There we go. So I'm excited for the stream. I don't have any articles or anything, but hopefully you guys are well. If you guys have had a great day, or obviously I know there's different people in different time frames, so if it's a good morning for you or afternoon, I'm yapping a bit. I'm just going to get straight into it. Also, actually, I want to apologize for Wednesday. We had a bit of an issue with the internet, and it just completely messed the stream up. We are planning to reschedule. We might have done it yesterday, this, that, the other. Kind of all was a bit of a mess, and we had quite a few projects in that, so we do want to hopefully arrange that for sometime soon, so we can actually do it. But obviously we'll get back to you guys on that on Telegram. But anyway, I'll just get straight into this. Bitcoin, like I said, 84,879. Pretty well, doing pretty well. Obviously come up from a decent low we had. I think the low, obviously, unless we have another low, obviously it's, to be fair, it's dependent. We haven't got out of the bad scenario we've been in yet. Or in my personal opinion, we haven't fully gotten out of bad scenario. This is only the start of it. Hopefully the start of us actually reaching some higher prices. Apparently Mike's been scouring, and people are thinking 90k. Obviously it is quite hypocritical. Obviously, as soon as the market's going down and we're having a bit of negativity, everyone's like, this is the end of Bitcoin. We're going to like 40k, but obviously now we've had a slight bit of positivity. We've come above our some of the highs we've had, and now everyone's like, we're going to 90k and 91k. It's like there's a bit, I think people are very across the board. Obviously I can't speak for everybody. I think a lot of people who are quite big on Twitter or social media in general for crypto, when they give their estimations of their predictions and how they're feeling about the market, I'm looking at my light and it looks like it's going to fall over, so you might see me go dark or some during the stream, so just warning you guys. But anyway, they speak on Twitter, wherever it may be, in their communities or on YouTube, and they're very very quick to change their sentiment, whether they're wrong, right or wrong. It's I think it's easier for a lot of them, especially if they get bigger audiences, to constantly kind of jump between two different ships and always try to be as right as they can, which is something you want to do. Obviously you want to be as right as you can, but I think there's not a lot of backbone to a lot of people. And I think this is a prime example of we've just started to get back up, start to get above some of the highs we've had over the last couple of days, wherever it's been, and now everyone's like, okay, here we go, 90k. It's like, well, let's wait for it to happen. It's kind of a bit too sudden. But anyway, bit of yap. 4.5% up on 24 hour for Bitcoin, doing pretty well. Obviously, hopefully we can keep this momentum going. 1900 for Ethereum. Now again, the issue with Ethereum I had personally on my chart, again, this is a personal thing. This is my ranges, whether it be what you agree with or disagree with, whatever. We came below objectively a significant area. We had like 3 different lows, and to be fair, you could consider it a long-term sweep of lows, and in the long term we're going to go up. And yeah, I think in the long term we're going to go up for every coin. That's just something quite simple. But in terms of currently, we have come below these lows, and whether that be something really positive on the weekly or daily, whatever time frame it is more accurate on, we've swept the lows on the weekly. Brilliant. How many candles are that going to take to start to come into effect? We'll consider that weekly by weekly basis. It might take 3 weeks. So it's going to be a negative scenario on the short time frames if it's something which requires a low sweep before we go up on the weekly. So to compare that to the prices, obviously 1900 we came below these a significant support point, the weekly breaker block in terms of the midpoint, and now we're going to kind of hover there. But obviously whatever you consider it being a sweep or whatever, should be a positive outcome from that. Obviously you can see 13% down 7 day as a comparison to a lot of other things. Now again, yeah, there's a lot of coins which are similarly down or whatever, but in terms of the main ones I look at, Solana, Ethereum and Bitcoin, Solana and Bitcoin are doing a lot better than Ethereum in terms of the 7-day overall move down. So clearly we've had more of a move down on Ethereum, which was just to be expected. When I was talking about Ethereum being at its low point, I was saying in comparison to Bitcoin and Solana, I don't think will go down as much. Because I was trying to think comparatively between the movements. We were already at the low for Ethereum. So I was like, okay, if we do go any lower than we are right now, as opposed to Bitcoin and Solana, we are not going to have as much of an easy way back upwards as we would have with Bitcoin and Solana, due to the fact that we're already at our low point for Ethereum. So I'm not surprised we're not as, again, we're still positive, but Solana, I think, obviously, again, very similar. We've come below and we've had this low, and I've talked about some of my streams as well. We had 141 resistance point for quite a while, and we had 128 support. So it seems like we're just still there. I'm not surprised about that, because we've had both these equilibriums are very long term or very higher time frame equilibriums. So again, quite a bit of difficulty. And I've talked about it on the past stream or two, or whatever. The fact that Bitcoin is in a bit of a different scenario as opposed to Solana and Ethereum, where we are at a very strong support point for Bitcoin, and I think the move up is going to be a lot easier. So I'm not surprised across the three, Bitcoin's doing a bit better than the others. So anyway, we're going to get to the charts now. 9% down, 7 days as well for Solana. I'll look at the chat in a second. Say hello to everyone. I'm just going to look at some winners and losers. Occasionally like to have a little look at this. So Trump doing well. Again, I don't really like meme coins. Community coins, I like. Memes, I don't know. They're not my thing. I want to see 24-hour losers though quickly. Again, not that negative. We're having a good day. Again, obviously Bitcoin's pumping, or comparatively pumping, doing pretty well. I think we have a gap to fill on CME. I think Mike told me we have a gap to fill somewhere. I don't know exactly where. I'm going to have a supporter before my voice gives out. But yeah, I'm not surprised. We're pretty positive on 24-hour, across the board. Again, if you can click 24-hour, I'd pretty much immediately start to see stable coins, then you're doing pretty well in the market. If you're seeing the biggest losers being roughly stable coins, apart from a couple few. So we're doing pretty well. There we go. So yeah, anyway, obviously 7 day, again, I don't really care about the 7 day because pretty much everything's down. So let's just go to the chart. Actually, I'll say hello to everyone. Let me bring the chat up. What I mean. Evening's fell rope. Glad. Hopefully you're doing well as well. I'm doing pretty fine myself. Thank you very much. If you can you look at Ondo and Sip? Yeah, we'll try. I never like to promise anything, because some days I'm just, I'll quickly just go through the entire 3 charts I go through, and I'll have like 20 minutes in the end. And then, yeah, if I have quite a bit of time at the end, I will look at them. Obviously, I can't promise anything, because I'm very aware of the fact that I do spend a lot of time on certain things and just like yap a bit. So, I'll try. I'll try to get to it. Rocks, shout out to you, Kishan. Thank you for being here. KB, afternoon to you. So hello to everybody. WTA KB. Yeah, again, the interview, brilliant interview. That was genuinely amazing. Very insightful. Very, very insightful. So anyway, here we have Bitcoin chart, 4 hour. So my range was basically, if I bring up the actual range we have, here we go. So if you remember from what I said last time, I thought, obviously, again, are we out the woodworks? Well, comparative over this kind of general move from the week we are above the highs. We're doing pretty well. We're doing higher lows as well. So in comparative, if you go to the daily though, we're doing well. Obviously we have done a lower low, so we're not out of the woodworks. Again, this is my main theme for this is going to be we're doing well, but we're not completely safe yet. So anyway, let's go back to the 4 hour. So and now my kind of prediction, or whatever you want to call it, was basically we have this low end here, which we had our low at, doing pretty well. You can have some like a stop run, or I think it's called stop run, or a sweep, whatever you want to call it. Basically, very commonly in a scenario like this, where you're going to have another lower low, it could be very common that you have a scenario where you kind of come below these previous lows over here and come to the purple lines. You have the movement in between here and here of this magnitude, this kind of like, to whatever. Again, it's comparative to different charts. Again, Bitcoin's at 84k, and so it's going to be $2,100 in this case, but it's this general percentage move in between. My numbers are going to be ages away, aren't they? I'm going to try and look at them. I want to see the percentage. So yeah, so it's like about 0.11 percent move down of this is quite a common area to come below previous lows if you have this before you start to go up again. And obviously we did that here, and that was my kind of thing I was thinking was going to happen. Obviously, as we came out of this symmetrical triangle, if you will, Everyone kind of expected we were going to go down, and we did. Obviously, it was pretty, not obvious, but everyone kind of was unanimously in agreement. My obviously analysis was, I think we were going to have that sort of scenario where we come to the purple line, have this sweep, and then have a print of support at the low end of this range, and then come back upwards again to kind of reverse and continue onwards. Obviously, the next stop being from there was, and the reason I have this stop point at 832, obviously that was a pretty decent resistance point quite continuously for a while, since basically a whole week. This was the outer rim of this equilibrium, so you can see we had pretty good resistance here, pretty consistently. And then my obviously last thing in this range was this order block here, which was obviously a positive order block, a support point, which you can see obviously apart from this kind of temporary print below, we've had good support at it. These areas been pretty good support, but obviously knowing that we were going to come, or not knowing, obviously I don't have a crystal ball, but based on my analysis and whatever you want to say, I kind of thought we were going to come to this area, knowing we were going to come to roughly about here, having a low below the purple line, and then the take profit at a higher end equilibrium on the outer rim. Anyway, this is like the whole equilibrium here. So this is going to be resistance, resistance, resistance. Obviously, as we flip it, obviously we'll hopefully use support. But again, this is one of the wider ranges. We have different ranges, so comparatively as well within this, we have this as well, which if we kind of compare here, we can see is this wider range equilibrium. So anyway, it doesn't matter. So knowing that, my kind of understanding was we're roughly going to see resistance at this outer rim, and then hopefully as we continue onwards, and hopefully we have this continuous move upwards for Bitcoin, we should see supports being used at each one of these levels as we go up through the equilibrium, and eventually reach this higher end where we have this period in between 93k and all the way back up 118k, which obviously we've talked about ages ago back here before we fell. We had this kind of support resistance point, if we go back to it on the weekly, remembering my TA was this kind of support point we had before we dumped in the market, and then we produced this kind of stagnation of highs and lows before we swept it and came back down, all the way over here. So yeah, let me go back to the 4 hour quickly. Yeah, so that was kind of the thing, but now we've broken out of it. Now we're starting to come up. We're having a nice print come up. So hopefully we can find support here. Now again, we have had prints above this resistance. Obviously, this is a very strong move above. And again, like looking from our period of actually having a nice print into this order block, finding this momentum to come back upwards from this point down here. Very strong candles up. Not a lot of wicks. Very strong bodies coming upwards, and then an even stronger one, biggest candle here. So looking at this kind of strength of this move, doing pretty well to get above. Now comparative to these two kind of periods where we came above, this one is not strong in the slightest. We immediately came back down when we printed above. Now again, not saying we can't do that right now, where we immediately print back towards 82.7 from this candle in the next 4 hours, but I suppose it is comparative. I suppose we could do that again. I'd have to go to low time frames and have a look, but looking at this general move, it looks pretty strong. You'll see this in comparison to this one. We didn't really have a move, and we're already on a significant move down anyway, so we didn't really have a move. This one, again, not really a strong print. We already had this candle of uncertainty where we had these massive wicks, and then we kind of hovered a bit, and then we obviously came down. But again, comparing this area to this area, we were having lower highs and lower lows, so we weren't in a scenario to actually realistically have an immediate reversal from this just order block and then have a reversal to find support in this equilibrium. But I mean, obviously, I think in this case we might be a bit different. Again, we are now higher lows, higher highs scenario for Bitcoin. We also have support or this order block coming from this order block at 80k, and we have this massive candle upwards into this area. So hopefully we can hold support at 83.3 and have this equilibrium. I think we will. I could probably go to low time frame, see what we're doing, but whatever. And then I think next here we have this 86.90k, and again, everyone's calling for 90k. I know apparently a lot of people are calling for 90k. Now, again, I do think we have some levels in between this before we see 90k immediately. We're going to see definite resistance before then. I think one of the main ones is definitely going to be 86.7. We definitely have this. I can say definitely, but comparing previous price action, we do have this support resistance usage of this area quite a few times over, and it was one of the strong points in terms of the red area. Like, this was one of the strong points. Now again, 90,340 is a previous strong point and has been used. I mean, comparative to this 86k area is a lot stronger. You can see spanning from like November 2024, we've used it multiple times as support. coming into now. So I definitely think 90,340 is going to be quite a strong area to try get it back above. But not saying it's going to be the first thing coming from 84k. I'm not saying we go right towards 90,340 and see resistance there. But I do want to also look at here. We do have this intermediary equilibrium on the lower time frame, which also kind of stacks onto this area, which is in between here as well with 88k and 89k. So we do have that to pay attention to. Now we are coming into because again, as these ranges go up, they have moments where the equilibriums stack, where there's kind of crucial areas, and this is the area right now in between 83k and 93k. So this is obviously a known, or obviously in my opinion based on my charts, this is a strong area in between where we are right now. Now we are coming into this again. This is one of the higher ranges, so you want to look at it on basically the daily. You can see, like, obviously we've had I don't know if we had points of resistance here. We haven't really used it before. We kind of came right into it and then used the top end as support. So I think coming into it is going to be easier than kind of getting above it. And we have used it as support over here, 83k, but from then it's 93k. So I think looking at it, we do have quite an easy move upwards towards roughly about 88k is what I'm thinking. So let me go back to the 4 hour. I'm thinking we've got a nice move upwards before we start to see 86k as resistance. Now I do want to go quickly onto the CME. Am I on the right area? I'll just do this and then it should show it. There it is. So we had this gap, which I think we looked at on the daily. Actually, what range did I draw this on? Why does it look so bad? Oh, I drew on the wrong time frame. That's why. So it would be in between the candles, which we've already filled. Apparently, we have something somewhere. I assume on the upper end. Obviously, we are filling this one, which goes towards about 87,260. I believe it is between. Is it between the candles or candle wicks? It would make sense if it was the candle wicks, but I don't know why I have the candle bodies here. I think I might draw it. I don't know. I'm gonna draw it actually in between the wicks because that makes sense to me. Maybe that's wrong. I don't know. So we're slowly filling this. It brings us to about 86k. So obviously, whether that be, what was this? Is this an equilibrium? Why do I have these lines? Can't remember. But yeah, so we are slowly filling this to completion at about 86k, which obviously once that's filled, then that is kind of this balanced, which then allows for this to move in whatever way it wants to from the market. So if I go back to my chart, it's about 86k, 86 roughly at this line here. Now I don't really have any other lines which span to that exactly. We do have maybe wicks of resistance basically towards the equilibrium. So again, whether we have a negative response after we fill this and come down a tiny bit, obviously would make sense, and I wouldn't be I wouldn't mind doing it to actually confirm support at 83 to 240. So hopefully, obviously, we can actually come down. Obviously, I wouldn't want to just completely surpass the equilibrium at 83 240, 83 250, whatever it is. And then obviously completely ignore it, continue to come back upwards, and then not find it as support. So I do want to have a nice structured move where we're having these highs and lows, where we maybe come to fill the 86k area from this equilibrium point and then come downwards again to find support. And then obviously the general move to have a nice easy move to 90k is going to be this. I want to see the usage of support, because again, in equilibriums, it's not just this kind of one and done range where you're either above it or below it. There are periods of process to have to go through to get back above. Now again, the positive thing about doing this is that we do have resistance at 86.8, but we are going to have support at 83.240 if we don't break below it. Now the normal process, if we are in a good condition in the market, now we are starting to hopefully kind of reverse, apart from the fact we've done our lower low. Now the thing is on the daily, apart from kind of in this process of moving, apart from this high at 95k, and then it comes pretty much right to, to be fair though, you can kind of look at it here, we do have this, so to be fair, this could probably be the high at 83k-ish, 82.8, then coming down, we have this lower low here, and then coming up. So technically on the daily, we haven't really flipped anything, we haven't really changed anything, we're still in this kind of theoretical downtrend as we come into it. Regardless of whether you're looking at this low or this low, we have still done a lower low. But we could also be in a scenario where we've done these lows, we've come past them now, and now we're going to come back upwards a bit and then find support and continue onwards. But apart from, until, again, this is obviously a bit of a late prediction. Until we come past 83k, I'm still going to be negative. Obviously, you do have to take some context from the lower time frames and look at, okay, we're starting to reverse on the lower time frames. Now, you know, the kind of process is if you're becoming positive on the 4 hour and the 1 hour, eventually that will span to the daily, and the daily will eventually span to the weekly. So, you know, as of right now, if the 4 hour and onwards are positive, we do that for enough time, 4 hours are positive for enough time, then obviously it will kind of show in the daily time frame. So if we could just keep this positivity in the 4 hour, then we can definitely see positivity in the daily. So I can't just say here, one and done, okay, until we're above 83k, I'm negative in Bitcoin. I don't think we're going to go any harder than this. Because, you know, until we see that, there's not really much point looking at the daily apart from resistance points. So I just really have to look at the 4 hour and look at the fact that we're starting to do higher highs, higher lows. You know, from here, especially we had equal highs. Now we've come back above it. I wouldn't be surprised if we have that bit of come up, bit of retracement again. Also coinciding what potential have the CME, where we kind of come up towards where the rough resistance point is, and then find support at 83.3. So I wouldn't be surprised if we have a bit more, a bit of a move down from here, and then have our process of coming back upwards. You know, to these higher points up here between, you know, 86.7 and 94k. So obviously I think we're starting to kind of come into a good scenario for Bitcoin. Obviously I think we're doing well. I'm glad we've got above this equilibrium, because obviously if we sat here for too long, then obviously it wouldn't have been too great for the market. So because obviously we could have just like had this. I think this is one of the. I think this is a chart pattern, isn't it? With this like ascending triangle thing where I think you break above it. I can't remember exactly what it is. I haven't looked at this chart pattern in a while, actually. I know this is a thing I do want to look at, but again, chart patterns, it's been a while since I've looked at a chart pattern, apart from this one. So yeah, we have this ascending triangle, which you can have this sweep, but realistically, looking at it, oh yeah, well technically it would be this. Okay, we've got these multiple highs here, and then we've had this sweep. We should have retracement from some of these highs, but it depends. It doesn't really look like we've had that response yet from a quick, you know, come up, come down. So, you know, I think we're just going to surpass it and then continue onwards for Bitcoin. But again, even I do want a retracement from this position, whether it be here or 86-ish K, where we then come to support and then continue onwards. So Bitcoin, doing well. I'm happy about Bitcoin. I think, again, I don't have enough to go off. I've already talked about these resistance points. You know, there's not a lot new evolving in Bitcoin, apart from the fact we've come above these highs, and now we're starting to have this kind of upwards movement, you know, in Bitcoin to actually kind of hopefully get towards 90k. But again, for the people saying, oh, we'll immediately go to 90k, yes, we will eventually reach 90k. You know, it's like saying, oh yeah, Bitcoin's eventually going to, you know, we're going to go up at some point. Yeah, okay. Obviously, we're going to go up at some point for Bitcoin. But I think there's a bit more nuance to get to 90k than people just saying, okay, yeah, we're going up right now, 90k it is. Because, you know, it's you know, if you were to, you know, long, yeah, we could have a process where we do this. Yeah, okay, cool. And let's say you long from here. It's like, yeah, okay. We would eventually, I think we are going to hit 90k. Let's say 90k there. Unless you have stop loss, you know, where would be a logical stop loss in this scenario? Well, it would probably be considerably below equilibrium that we've surpassed support. So obviously, I mean, it'd be better to wait for a retracement to get into where the equilibrium is, and then come from a point where maybe we have these points of bounce, so a considerable position below equilibrium, and then continue onwards. But again, we're gonna have movements within this move, so it's not really logical. But again, obviously you can just like have a long and then just wait for it to get to 90k. So yeah, I do agree with people. I do think we are going to hit 90k, but I think we are going to have a bit more of a process than people are saying to get to 90k before we, you know, see it. So yeah, I mean, I'm kind of yapping about the same thing for Bitcoin, so I'm going to move on to Solana probably. I'll look at the week. I want to see is there anything of interest I can look at. Well, we have this kind of gap here, which we've kind of tapped into, but again, there's not really much. We already had this kind of tap into it. There's not really much for me to kind of go off. I mean, obviously, oh look, we've got a kind of hover point. Now we're going to come all the way back down to 864k. To be fair, though, we did have quite a lot of people saying 64k for Bitcoin, but yeah. Anyway, I don't really have much else to say about Bitcoin. I think we're going up. As we are going up, I think those are my resistance points at obviously 86k, retracement to 83.8, wherever it was exactly for the support point, and then eventually have a higher low, higher high scenario back up towards 90k. Solana, I'm interested about Solana. I want to see what's going on. Let's get my ranges up. I think the 20, is it 81? Yeah, this is 81. There we go. So yeah, here we go. So we have two positions. We've kind of been in this scenario before. We had this kind of 120 support point, equilibrium, good kind of hold of this equilibrium. Obviously also, you know, on 243, bit higher, we do have this equilibrium still here. So obviously what we had was this kind of obviously come into equilibrium, find support, came up, massive response from here, found resistance in equilibrium, and then came down, came back up again, equilibrium again. Now we're dipping into here. So we could maybe receive resistance at 143. You know, as we're coming up again, if comparative to Bitcoin maybe has the red area, it's about 86.8. This is kind of comparative, I believe anyway, where it could be about $140, which we've already seen of support previously. Now I think we could see resistance at it. Looking at obviously what we've got in this process, again, daily, similar to Bitcoin, we still have this, you know, we haven't flipped anything yet, which obviously we wouldn't have done. We have to take a lot of days to actually get above anything significant to then be in a uptrend. So again, on the 4 hour, we might see some actual positivity. As we can see, you know, we had this process coming downwards. Now we're kind of starting to come upwards. We had equal high here, and now we're above it. So this officially we do have a higher high. But if we look at the lows, we don't really have anything significant. You know, we still obviously have some higher lows from here, but it's more about the highs. When you're in an uptrend, it's more about the highs, and we do have this higher high here. This is a pretty good sign. As long as we don't do a low below $120, then we are going to be in this process of moving up and downwards. I want to go to a lower range quickly though, back to here. So yeah, in this process, it's not looking bad. You know, on the lower range, on the 4 hour, we are above this line, which is pretty important. From here on, we don't really have resistance comparative to an equilibrium, apart from coming to the high at $160. And then obviously we have this equilibrium on the 27, which obviously we have used as resistance multiple times over, being below this. So we are going to see resistance there. The important thing as well to remember, actually, if I add a new range to this, so we can see what we've been doing on the 27 on this range, but maybe like an hourly time framed range, but I'm gonna look at it on the 4 hour. So we get the low of here, do this. I've just pasted that. There we go. Wait, hold on. Let me get it back again quickly. Make sure that's accurate. So this is the 27. So it's going to be, if we get rid of this, it's going to be 100 and something. 105.28, I think that is. 27. Yeah, that's right. I think that's right. Yes. That makes sense, right? I mean, could be wrong, whatever. It doesn't really matter. It's roughly the same thing. But yeah, we can see, okay, 27 looking pretty good as well. We have this equilibrium. So again, what happens, these ranges are very similar to like time frames, where the process of them getting smaller and bigger, it's kind of comparative to 30-minute, 1 hour, 4 hour, whatever. As you go up, obviously it takes more time in that direction to change. So for example, if like we have on a daily, if we're in this downtrend, it's going to take more time. It's going to take more effort and time for us to be positive to then flip, in theory, the market trend of higher lows, higher highs. In this case, obviously, was lower highs, lower lows coming down. We're going to have to eventually flip this, and it's going to take a longer period of time, a lot more effort and consistency to get above that. Whereas on the 30-minute, if we're in a downtrend, it takes a lot less time and kind of input to get to a position where we're having higher highs and higher lows, and we're in a bullish trend. But at the same time, it means less. So on the 5-minute, if we're in an uptrend, it means less comparative to the 4 hour, the daily, whatever you want to say. So it's all relative in terms of price. So it's very similar to these ranges. You know, okay, relative to this on the 27, which is a relatively lower time frame or relatively low range, we can see, okay, well, we're doing pretty well. We're now coming up to the high. We should flip this and then be a new range. Brilliant. So yes, okay, we are doing well. There's obviously nuance in between these ranges where we have these highs, but obviously comparative. You know, if this is the high of the range on this one, if this is like the high here, and then we kind of hide this and go at 27, this is realistically within here. So we have this movement capability on Solana to actually get above this area without there being any difficulty on the higher ranges. So this is a good thing. I do think we won't have that much difficulty to get above 143. But again, remember 143 in comparison to Bitcoin, you know, similarly, we have that high point like 86.8, where I think obviously with the CME gap for thing that, you know, I think that will be one of our high points for Solana before we kind of retrace a bit. But comparative to the 27, we probably might see 135 support point here. Now, if we compare that to some equilibriums, obviously we have 138 on the 243. Oh no, the 128. Let me go back to 243 though. So for example, we have the 130-ish. It's about 130, but obviously the 143. So there's support points kind of cascading downwards. Again, the 27 means a lot less on the higher time frames. So relatively, 135 isn't going to mean that much. But obviously in comparison, you know, the 128 and the 143 are going to be big support points. As we've seen previously, you know, these areas are pretty strong, whether they be support or resistance, you know, as we flip them. You know, especially this bounce here was, you know, pretty nice here. This flip, bounce, and obviously we came below resistance, then support, and then we've eventually flipped it, and then obviously came into equilibrium. So these are going to be strong points of either support or resistance depending on what side you're on. So going back to 27 to actually give something. The difficult position is we are obviously clearly below the purple line, which means we are then in. Let me hide 243. Which means we are in between this range of $134 and $108. So we are in this range here. This is our range. So relative to if we weren't doing this, you know, if we were in this range at 162 to 135 and we weren't below the purple line, yeah, it's pretty easy. Okay, bit of resistance at high, whatever. We then flip it, support, continue onwards, resistance at equilibrium, and then whatever. But the fact is we are below this purple line and we've printed at it. So this is going to be a relative resistance point, which we can see we are kind of printing at here, whether we come below it or above it right now. We're on the 4 hour, and again, we've got 3 hours and 27 minutes left. So the sentiment can change, sentiment can go up or down depending. So the general idea is this is going to be a important line. But not only that, it's also going to be getting above here and getting above 137, 138. This is an important line because this is also the purple line on this range. So it also means if we don't get above this, we're still going to be in this range. So relative, you know, I've shown this multiple times on many streams, talking about getting into new ranges and the process of doing that. It is realistically just getting above this purple line and printing at it, you know, bouncing off it, kind of confirming that we've, you know, kind of solidified ourselves above this range in 135 to 162. So as I see it right now, this is going to be a big resistance point as well. Obviously, like I said just then, on the 27, it's all relative to how much strength it has and how much size. So in this case, it's not very strong of a range. So I think it'll be easier to get above this comparatively on the higher time frames and use resistance at, like I said, 143. But, you know, to look at the process of the 27, which again is like a comparative low range, it looks pretty good. You know, we're doing pretty well, multiple bounces on the equilibrium, and then now we're starting to run up a bit, trying to get above the equilibrium here. Again, similar to the 4 hour, we are hovering at this purple line. So if we can have this print and then start to continue back abovewards to here at 135, I think we can flip this and then continue and have it as support, which again we have used a few times over. You know, we've had the purple line as support, you know, a few times. Obviously we flipped it here. Obviously I think this was like a kind of external market dump, so we kind of ignored it. But when in a normal price action scenario, we have multiple times over used it as support. Obviously now we have flipped it. So I think it will still be resistance regardless of the range. However, I think it's smarter to look at 143 as the next high rather than 135. So I think similar to Bitcoin, like I said, 143, I think we are going to flip this. And looking on the 27 and looking at this range and this sentiment, I think we're quite bullish for Solana. So similar to Bitcoin, I think we'll continue to go upwards. I don't know what people are predicting for Solana. It could be maybe, I don't know. What people are saying, I don't know. I haven't seen what people are saying. They might be talking about, I'm going to try and guess what they might be talking about. If I was to look at the 4 hour, I would probably be saying 180 area, 170, 174. But again, we have this breaker block at 161. We have the high at 162. We have equilibrium, like I said, at 148 here, area here on the 27, 143 on the higher range as well. So we've got a few stops on the way up. Similar with Bitcoin's has its relative stops on the way up. I do think we'll have a slow, steady process upwards towards about $170. But again, I think if we can continue this bullishness on the 4 hour and continue onwards, I think this is a good position to be in for Solana. If I go back to 27 quickly, in terms of trying to get to a position, I think I could be proven horribly wrong. However, I do think we could see some longs for obviously people. However, again, I do think we're on the higher end of things. Again, comparative to Bitcoin, I want to wait to see if we hold equilibrium support. I also want to see if we come towards 86-ish K and then retrace a bit from there and find support. So I think what I'd wait for if I wanted to trade would be a retracement of in general, just Solana, Bitcoin. In Solana's case, it would probably be retracements towards, if I go to the higher range, probably towards $128. Similar with Bitcoin's 83.8, wherever it was exactly. We have this kind of support point of strength. Now again, in Solana's case, we are low in comparison to Bitcoin. Obviously, if I had to rank it, obviously it'd be Bitcoin, Solana, and Ethereum in terms of its. Are we lower? Are we significantly low? Are we in a good scenario? Bitcoin's in a good scenario, had multiple support points below us of strength, and we're going to come right off those. Similar to Solana, a bit lower because we were sitting at around the 27, kind of 143 equilibrium. But in this case, on the higher range, it is this 123 support point. But again, relative, 128 is going to be that support point. I want to wait to see if we have a move up towards a 143 and then maybe retrace again towards support point, whether that be 129, kind of have this process of kind of coming up and then kind of bouncing and retracing, and then maybe waiting for a position there. And if we can have that kind of trend upwards, coming from again retracing back from this low or to this low, 90k relative for Solana will probably be maybe the high point at about 162, maybe 160, I think it is. I can't remember exactly what the price is. So about here, so maybe towards maybe 159. Now again, we're going to have purple line of resistance as well, so it depends. There's going to be multiple points you can take, whether that be this 153. We've got this equilibrium as well at 148, which we'll see difficulty at, but for a longer play, it'd probably be this kind of movement here, and obviously for the stop loss, it'd probably be coming back into equilibrium. Do we have any relative support points? We have this. I mean, again, it's quite wide, to be fair. Obviously, we are coming quite high up. It depends on what you want to look at in terms of coming from. Again, this is going to obviously be. Whoops. This is obviously going to be the get-in price. Obviously, the entry price. Being back at support at 128. Obviously, if we flip this and come maybe towards here at 123, then we're in a pretty, we're not probably holding this as support and we can get out the trade. But again, if you were to take a trade and not sit in it for ages, I would rather put it towards equilibrium price here, about 15%. I don't think this 143 is going to be, obviously this is resistance on the higher range, but I think on the lower time frames we can probably get up it, because again, everything's pretty relative. Daily kind of relation, okay, we can have wicks of 5% up, or whatever. So coming from here for a 4% wick upwards, which on the 4 hour would be, us coming up and then coming back down again, I think is logical. I think could make sense. So on a relative note, I think wicking and coming up above this would make sense, because again on the 4 hour, this is a wide range. So if we look on the 4 hour, it doesn't look like it's being used properly, because this isn't the relative range for the kind of weekly range, the average daily range, whatever. This isn't being used because it's too far out. Like, we're not really using this properly. I could probably bring this up though to see what the actual range is supposed to be. So if you see the 94, this is technically the 81. So if we look at basically this price is going to be for obviously average daily range current. Whatever the closest power free number is going to be what we should be using on the lower time frames, and obviously the higher time frames goes towards this weekly range numbers over here. So this is like the 243, for example. So like I said, on the higher ranges it's going to be the 243, which is the relatively high, and then on the lower time frames it's the 81. So again, this is what the average daily range, average weekly range usage is for. Because again, you can use the 243 on the 1 hour, but is it realistically going to work? No. So again, same with here, the 243, very wide range you use on daily or the weekly, but isn't relatively used on the 4 hour because there's just too many candles to kind of actually, or there's too much movement to be able to use these. But again, if we go to the daily, it gets used a bit better. So as you can see, this bounce on this area, this bounce on this area for these wicks, and then coming upwards. Excuse me. I need to sneeze again. So yeah, anyway, probably move on to Ethereum quite quickly now because we've got about 20 minutes left. Let's start the countdown. What a shock. Me not starting the countdown. Yeah, like that's never happened before. Let's do 20 minutes. Oh, we'll do 19 because technically it's 19. Roughly. Okay. So let me get the comments back up. There we go. So anyway, like I said, again, everything's relative. Kind of the takeaway of that. So again, going back to the 4-hour, I do think we'll see this retracement. I think we'll see resistance back here in terms of a high point. Again, the 90k relative of this between 143 is going to be this high at 81, which is about 160. But I think that's quite high. And again, we have comparative on Bitcoin, like I showed, we had that 88 and 89k resistance on the lower range. Is I think similar here. We're going to have different points, and for me that is the $150 equilibrium. So I do think we should see this resistance point here about 150k. So do bear that in mind if you were to take a trade. Again, not financial advice in the slightest. I get things wrong all the time. You know, everyone gets things wrong. Just obviously be careful. 79k to 84k. It's shuffle. What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? While you're answering, I will go to Ethereum now. Let's see. So yeah, this is, I think, going to be one of the worst cases comparative to any other range. Yes, that's not a good thing. Again, very similar to, again, what I was saying was where we had this high, we were sitting pretty nicely at it. This isn't good for Ethereum. Now, again, not saying we can't, you know, kind of get back above and then continue onwards. Again, I'm not saying this is, oh yeah, we're permanently going to be below 2187. We're never going to get back above. We're going to be in this new range. We're going to come down to 1,280. But in terms of how easy it would be for Ethereum to have longs or a nice trade, I think would be a bit harder. Because now we've come directly below this purple line. We're finding nice resistance at it. This isn't a good thing, but what we're holding support at this breaker block, and we're using resistance at this purple line. So we've got this kind of range going on. I don't think this is a good thing. I think this is quite a bad thing, very bad thing for Ethereum. Not saying, oh yeah, this is so bad, we're not going to have a bull run for Ethereum. We're never going to go back up. We're never going to see 3,500, 4,000, 4,200, whatever you want to say, you know, your high point is. But I just think it's going to give us a lot of difficulty to get above anything significant for Ethereum. Now, obviously, if we look at this, not doing badly. And again, we've got this breaker block, massive support. Coming below this, what do we have next? Well, we don't have. This is a non-range. So I think the next one to look at would be the 2187, which is, again, like I said, we've got this equilibrium here. We have order blocks in this range, which we don't really have anything of. And then we've kind of got breaker blocks down here. So we can find some support. We could see 1,600. Again, this is just in the scenario we do come down, which I don't think we're going to do. I don't think we're going to come down. There's probably not really much point in me looking at this because I don't think we're going to be doing any of this. But whatever, I like to look at it. I just want to see quickly if there's anything significant in these areas. Like here, for example, if there's any like breaker blocks on maybe the weekly. Because again, this is a considerably higher range. I'm not really looking. It's not really looking like there's anything significant in these ranges. I'll go back to that. You know, I'm not going to theorize anything. I'm just going to go back to my ranges and actually give normal TA. So comparative. So obviously 2187. We have this purple line print. So on this wider range, in theory, we're now going to be in between 2187 and $0 because this is one of the wider ranges, which again is on the daily. But again, even on the daily, is like, you know, we do have this print. Weekly, technically we don't. And if we kind of zoom out, the relative range usage is the weekly, as we can see. If we go to this, I want to see quickly what this is. This is not showing. I don't know why. Can I refresh it? Is there a way of just I don't want to have to delete it and then open it again. Is there a way of me? I don't know, if I copy it, I can't duplicate it. I know, I've got it. I guess there isn't. Maybe I have to go to the lower ranges. It's probably what I've got to do. I want to see what the daily range and the weekly range is. Oh, there we go. So we can see the current range for weekly is 3999, which is relatively closer to 2187. I think it's, I mean, if I do the math, it's 2000. Yeah, so 2187 will be the closest range. So again, like I said, on the higher ranges, daily, weekly-ish, it's going to be 287, like I'm showing here. And we can see we haven't printed below the purple line yet. We haven't even printed below the breaker block yet. So we still have hope. And again, I'm not trying to fearmonger for Ethereum, but just want to show the scenario we could be in. Again, if we don't hold this position, if we don't kind of come below this purple line on the weekly and have this print, if we can hold at, you know, $2,000, if we have like a mini kind of big wick, mini kind of positive body printing at 1999, then I think that could be a good, that's like the best scenario for Ethereum to do, because then it means we're not in that bad of a scenario to be in. And again, if we go back to the 4 hour, if we look at the ranges quickly, 661 is the relative 729. So like I said, the relative range for the lower ranges, 4 hour, 1 hour, is going to be 729. And as we can see on the 729, we've got really good usage of these ranges. You know, wick all the way to the bottom to this equilibrium, nice prints of support here, and now we're kind of having difficulty again on, like I said, the higher range purple line here. So doing pretty well. We're respecting the lines very nicely for Ethereum. I think, like I said, with the weekly, I think the thing which is going to decide if we're above or below these ranges is going to be the weekly print. Now again, we have come below this on the 729, but again, relative case, we've already come to equilibrium here. So we haven't come below, so we can still have this bounce back upwards. And again, back on the day, on the 4 hour, whatever it was, where we had this kind of doing this, I think this can happen. Again, looking on this 2187, this doesn't look like it's going to happen because we've got this resistance and now we're in this range and I'm going to come down. But again, everything is relative to its time frame. Looking at the 729, we can very well do this. If I get rid of everything quickly, we can very well do this, you know, having this print and then come right back upwards towards here. Again, we're going to see a bit of resistance at 2100, definitely see resistance at 2200, but again, I think in Ethereum's case, it's more so getting back up to where we were rather than in, obviously, again, every coin is trying to get back up to where we were. But in Bitcoin's case, where we're starting to do some higher highs and higher lows, Solana's case, where we're just starting to do the higher high now and come above. In Ethereum's case, we're not doing that yet on the 4 hour. Look, we're still in this, we haven't even done the higher high yet. We're still in a bad trend. And again, like I said, in terms of ranking the worst to best case, or best to worst case, it's going to be Bitcoin, Solana, Ethereum, because Ethereum is in this not very good scenario. But again, I'm not saying it's a negative thing where we're going to go to $1,400 and completely dump. I'm just saying, in terms of a comparative move upwards, yes, we will have positive move upwards and longs for Ethereum, whatever. But in terms of if you were already in a long or a buy or whatever, it's more so going to be us getting right back to where we were rather than in Bitcoin's case. Because again, if we look back, you know, we've been going down and then some. So in Bitcoin's case and slightly Solana, mainly Bitcoin, we've already had this clear bounce and then this clear move upwards already. But in Ethereum's case, like I said, and it's kind of Solana, we're just still below. We're not done anything significant to get above. Like I said, in Bitcoin's case, we had that move down and then we had this kind of move upwards already. So again, it's all comparative, but it's not in a good scenario as, you know, comparison to Bitcoin. But I think the movement's going to be more so aiming to get back above to where we were, like I just said, which is going to be towards 2100, 2200, area back here for the high. So I think obviously relative case, I'm going to go to the lower range really quickly, which we don't have anything on. I want to see really quickly just some lows. Whoops. So 2187. So this is 243. You know what? I don't want to be wrong. I'm just going to get the calculator out because I know if I get it wrong, it's just going to be annoying. All right, there we go. There we go. So this is the next range down, which we are kind of at. Actually, we need another range down even. So again, like I did with Solana, we were on the 27, which again is a relatively low range, but we can still kind of have a nice little look at it just to see as interest. We can have a look at it just to see how we're doing. Yeah, I don't want to get it wrong. I don't care. I'm not doing some relatively, comparatively simple math. But the amount of times, wait, what was the number? I didn't even pay attention to what I just read. There we go. There we go. Okay, there we go. Okay, so again, it's very similar to what we had for Solana, where I speak a lot on these streams, and the speed in which my voice just gets like dry is too fast. But anyway, so like we looked at Solana when we just had a quick look at the lower ranges, just see as of interest, we could see this kind of the speed in which, similar to how we compare the 30 minutes to the 4 hour, similar to these ranges where we can see the speed of positivity or negativity as it goes on. So we can look, we already see, we came to equilibrium, we're already seeing the retracement back towards the high end and the potential to flip it and then come into the next range. So if we go through them, 243 in a very good scenario to flip this, 729, we're at equilibrium, not a very good scenario to get back above into there. For the 2187, obviously this is relative. Again, we're nowhere near the equilibrium, but we're quite far away from this high point. But obviously, like with 729, to be fair, is also equal 2187 kind of thing, but we're already at equilibrium. So on the comparative kind of scenario we're in, the 729 we're bouncing off equilibrium and we're just starting to potentially start to come up again. The 243 we've already bounced off equilibrium, so we're starting to come up. But on the 2187, we're not really in a scenario to be bouncing. You know, we're kind of lost right now, not really showing much potential to come up. So it kind of cascades, you know, just very similar to how price changes its sentiment and cascades upwards. Very similar to the ranges where the sentiment is kind of based on how we're reacting to the ranges and what position we're in. So in this case, you know, if we go to the 1 hour for this, we can see, you know, very good usage on these equilibrium bounces. You know, some are relative on the breaker block. If we can see the breaker block, some are nice bounces, you know, very extreme bounces into here. Let me do this, like very nice bounces onto here. And now we're coming up and finding resistance at the high end, looking at this candle to potentially flip it and then come up into this area here for the purple line, and then start to come up towards $2,000 up here. So again, we're going to see these support points, resistance points, sorry, you know, as we go up. It's similar to how we have like 88, 89K for Bitcoin. 2,000, yeah, 2,000 will have resistance at. But again, that's relatively close to things we've already talked about with purple line and 2187 and stuff. So I think we'll have $2,000 as a bit of resistance as well. So that'll be one of the points here, which is also the relative support point. Was it two? About 2043. Well, it's not exactly. It's one of the wider range, as you can see. It's kind of not a true support point. We might have a breaker block somewhere back here, which we've used as support, but it's more so about 2040 rather than that. But I've looked at these ranges before when we've been up here. So I think, you know, this is one of the steps to get above. If we kind of do this quickly, this is gonna be one of the steps to get above. This is kind of the main goal, similar to how we have like 90K for Bitcoin. This is one of the steps to get above. Let me look on the next range. We could potentially see a bit of resistance there, but the main thing is we have this massive support here, 243. We are at support here, and the 2187 isn't really at a significant point, but on these relative ranges on the 1 hour, the 4 hour, we have this strong support point. So I think this is going to be one of the stops, and then this is going to be one of the goals, being at that high point. So again, you know, if you want to take a long, it would be, for me, it would be retracing back towards the this point here, about 1888, and then maybe coming up to, you know, this target one, if you will, or whatever, and then having stop loss just below equilibrium, maybe coming back into equilibrium, wherever you want to look at it. You know, 243 maybe you can look at coming into 1815 if you want it to be a bit closer, because again, obviously for stop losses and take profit, you can use lower ranges as the relative bounces. So if you know on the lower range that coming below equilibrium properly at 1800 or 1815, then you can use that on your larger trade, you know, as your stop loss. But you know, you could take a trade up till, where is it again? Here it is. You could take a trade up till, you know, maybe here about 2086, you know, as that area up there. Maybe the purple line be resistance as well. There's multiple areas you can go to, or we could maybe look for a order block, maybe in this area. So maybe here you can see there's kind of a resistance point here. So if we were to draw this order block here, and then let's just like color it like, I don't know, this hot pink, I guess, we can see, you know, has been kind of flipped and wasn't really used. Actually, I want to see on the daily. Yeah, there we go. That's a bit better. So kind of a rough bounce, didn't quite get into it, and then resistance here, which was quite nice. I don't know why this box looks so ugly. So again, obviously comparative. Obviously, it's not quite the high. You can maybe get towards even up to it. Again, it's how long you want to be in a trade for, how much kind of risk you want to take in terms of this being invalidated or this being kind of kind of wrong. Actually, I'm looking at this. We might have a mini gap here actually. So we have rejection block, order block, and then fair value gap, candle within here, and then within this candle we have this kind of process here, which we could potentially have a bit of resistance at, which also spans this this equilibrium here exactly. So again, we could have an 8% move upwards. Again, it's all relative. Sorry, it's all. Need more water. My voice is just completely dry. It's all relative to how much you want to, how long you want to be in trade for, where you want to enter at, and whatnot. So in this case, you have the 243 pairing with the 729 for support. Maybe the bounce could be a bit higher, dependent on how confident you are that we're going to hold this support point. Could be at 1844. If you look at the 243 as a comparative as well, maybe you should probably do it within here. But obviously on the safer side, again, it depends on what risk reward ratio you're trying to aim for. But again, this could be something. I'm not saying it's going to be something, but it could be something to pay attention to. What I quickly want to look at as well is opening up this range and having a look at some of these I can't remember what it stands for, like inter-price something or others. But this is like an auto drawing system for us, which gives us some of these fair value gaps, which are in the fair value gap range, and these inter-price resistance, potential resistance points, which I've used previously, especially with Bitcoin when we had one of those 81.6 lows. We have these kind of ranges as well, which also spans this, as we can see here, this range here. So if I open up this to the I think was I 243 or 729? Use 729. I don't think I saved that, did I? Oh no, I did. So you can see there's candles in here, and it has it here as well. We slap this hippo here, finding support at this range down here, like I've shown, and obviously bouncing and coming upwards from this equilibrium. But also with the equilibrium as well, it's like this is the range where you have this kind of like midpoint, area, and a lot of these have these dotted lines. These called like consequent encroachment, which basically is the midpoint of a line. Realistically, if you want to just talk about like that, where you could have these supports or resistances here as well to pay attention to. But realistically, the main thing we're looking at here is where to, if you were to take a trade from this long and a retracement to this support point on the higher range of the equilibrium, then it would be about there, for example. I think somewhere within here, with this high wick to 2025. You could do it within here. Now again, hippos, you can kind of wick up, above them, so it could come into this midpoint. If we go to the 243 again, wait for it to reprint. 1.5 EQ. I don't know why I have that high point here. Which range EQ was this, or was it a high point? I can't remember what I had exactly. But you can see this is the wider range EQ on this range. Like, yeah, this is the circle for this equilibrium here. So again, it could be to that line there, 141, which spans into this kind of potential gap we have, also into this hippo where we have this wick upwards as well, which can fill the entire thing. At previous points we've used them. There's obviously caveats to them, but in this case, obviously we had this here. I can highlight it quickly. There we go. Where we've used it as the prints, but we've had quite a significant wick above them. Of like 1%, for example. So if we were to come back comparatively to where we are, we can see 1% also spans to the equilibrium. So safe bet, I would say, would be about 2044 if you were to take it long. Not financial advice, again. But yeah, I mean, that's it for the chart. I did yap. I didn't actually get time to look at Syrup or Ondo. I could probably do that external and paste them in Telegram if you are interested. If you can message me in Telegram, I can do that. Let me tap quickly to the comments. But yeah, that's what I'm thinking for the charts. Okay, like I said, Bitcoin, we've got those stops. I think the key takeaway of the stream would probably be to yes, I do think we're going to see these high points at 90k and whatnot. Obviously, in Bitcoin's case, 90k. Solar's case, it could be relatively 170, wherever it was exactly. Ethereum's case, I think it's going to be getting up to the high point at 2,187. But I think like I said, the key takeaway is going to be there are going to be points in between those. I think we'll see a bit of difficulty here. So I don't think it's going to be a straight line upwards. I think there's going to be plenty of potential to see different price points of resistance and take profits if you want. Take a profit there. flip the order, whatever. I think in Ethereum's case, we have obviously equilibrium support over here, really strong. We have this intermediary kind of resistance point. I think this is going to be the goal at 2187. And I think in here we've got this potential fair value gap. We've got this inter-range resistance point here. We have the equilibrium. I think that all kind of matches up to be about $2,040. So if you were to take a trade, if we do have this retracement from, in this case for Ethereum, I think it's whatever it was exactly on the 729. It's about 1,970. I think we'll bounce on there. Something with Bitcoin has its fill on 86.8, 86.5, whatever it was. Solana's case is about 143, I think it is. I think we will see a bit of a retracement to confirm support. I could be wrong, again, not financial advice. I could be completely wrong, but I think we will see a retracement to this area and then come upwards again. I think in this case it would be coming up towards about here. Now again, there's different areas you can put your stop loss at. Again, it's not financial advice it's not my financial advice to kind of say anything. It could be to the bottom of the breaker block to 1843. It's all relative. So yeah, if I was to take trades, that's what I would do. Not financial advice. I could be completely wrong, like I said. So again, that is just my chart. If you have different opinions, put it in the comments, put it in the Telegram, and that's pretty much it from me though. Thank you all for joining. I appreciate you all. I'll be in the Telegram. Next stream, probably Monday. Obviously, it's going to be Monday, actually. So hopefully by Monday, we'll start to see some of this process. Again, this is on the 4 hour, so this will take a few candles to happen. This will probably span towards Monday, I reckon. So we'll see what the outcome of this is on Monday. I could be wrong. I want to see obviously what the results are. But in terms of the process, I think this is a logical process to, for that to happen over Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana. I will probably get onto the Syrup and Ondo tokens and look at them on Telegram. If you obviously do want them on Telegram, if you are in the Telegram, again, go to the description if you're not there already. But shout out to you all for being here. Kishan, Hidden Agendas, and there's obviously some new people, not new people, but I don't know, Kishan's obviously, you've shown these people, so shout out to you guys for being here as well. Appreciate you all. I don't want to get your names wrong, so Sankar, Vanapathi, hopefully I got that right. Shiva as well. KB is also, shout out to you, man. Thank you for being here. I'm going to message you very soon. I've been looking at I've got a new profile. I've been looking over the PDF. It's been pretty good so far. So I do want to message you soon about trying to arrange something like a Bitcoin show, whatever it might be, where we kind of maybe look at one thing in detail and kind of give both of our opinions at the same time. I think that'd be really great for people to look at as well, to have two different opinions, because a lot of streams it's one guy and he's kind of giving his opinion, he's giving it all the big bollocks and whatever, and it's good, it's good if they're right, they're brilliant, but I think it's nice to have two, not maybe opposing opinions or similar opinions which both use maybe not contrasting but different kind of methods, obviously like yours and mine. So that'd be very interesting. I will message you about that as well, but again, like I said, I'll be back on Monday. I'll be in Telegram as well. I hopefully soon we should get this stream rearranged for obviously we were supposed to do it Wednesday. We had some issues with that. We have a lot of projects in that, we have a lot to cover in that stream, so hopefully we can arrange it soon. Obviously the game has been fixed as well, obviously fingers crossed. Again, I know I've said that 4 times, but yeah, I'm talking a lot. I just have a lot to say in the outro, so got it all covered, got it all down. If you're not in Telegram already, again, like I said, go to the description. I'll be there. I'll probably post these Syrup and Ondo charts there once I get around to them. And that's, again, I'm losing things to say. I don't think I've got anything else to say. I will see you guys Monday. See you guys on Telegram. Thank you all for being here. Goodbye.